yummy, delicious sourdough bread made from scratch. Let me show you how to make it. I always like to make sure I have everything I need. So my bread flour, my water, my bench scraper, my mixer, a couple of rubber spatulas, measuring cup, salt, and active starter. And we're just going to go in with 1.5 cups of tepid water. So not cold, not hot, just kind of a little warm. And then I'm going to add my bubbly active starter. So I'm going to add about 1/2 cup here. Little pro tip here, make sure you have some wet paper towels on hand when you're making your bread. That way you can clean your utensils as you go. You don't want this stuff going down your drains, and this is going to make your cleanup so much easier. Now we're just going to go in and mix until this is nice and creamy. And then we're going to grab a strainer and sift in 3.5 cups of bread flour. The strainer is going to help catch anything that might be in the flour sometimes that you don't want in there, and it's also going to make it a little bit more fluffier. And then add in 2 teaspoons of salt. And then you're going to go in and mix it really well. And you want to just mix in until the dough and the flour start pulling together. If you find it's too dry, go ahead and start adding a little bit more water at a time until the dough and the flour start mixing together. Once the dough gets really nice and incorporated with the mixing, you're going to clean off your mixer, add a little bit more water, and go in with your hands. And just really massage the dough, get everything really mixed in. If you have a bench scraper, use that to scrape off the sides or something else that can. And you're just going to mix and massage that dough really well. And then I also just use my bench scraper to go around and work that dough a little bit before we do our first set of stretch and folds, just to kind of start building that gluten. When you're finished, it's going to be a little bit sticky. That's okay. If you have a digital thermometer, take its temperature. I know this sounds weird, but this is going to give you a time frame. So mine is reading at 80, which normally would give me about 4 hours to proof, but I always double check because the temperature can change. After about an hour, we're going to go back in and do our first set of stretch and fold. So we're going to use wet hands and a wet bench scraper and stretch the dough, turn the bowl about 1/4 turn, stretch again, and do this 4 times. And then I'm going to use my bench scraper to again work that dough and build the gluten. After the first set of stretch and folds, you're going to notice that your dough is getting less sticky. That is a good thing. After each set of stretch and folds, it will get less sticky. You're going to repeat the stretch and folds every 30 minutes from this point for 3 more sets. Cover her with a damp kitchen towel, let her rest, and come back and do it again. This is my last set here, and you can see that the dough is really getting strong. So you're going to notice it's not going to be as stretchy as it was the first time around. That is a good thing, that gluten is building. You're also going to notice that the dough is way less sticky and not stuck all over your hands. My dough went from reading an 80-degree temperature to a 65, so it took some time to proof, but you're going to want to get it at like a 50% to 75% rise, and then take it out and shape it into a rectangle. Once you have your rectangle, you're going to then shape it into a hot dog bun, so just fold it over like a little roll, and then you're going to roll that up, and then you're going to start building tension. So you're going to push it away and then tuck it in back to you. Push it away, tuck it. If you find that it's sticking, add a little bit of flour to your surface. Now that I have my dough all shaped, we're going to grab our bowl. We're going to line this with a tea towel and sprinkle with flour. And then we're just going to take our dough, put the top side down into the flour, and pinch the edges together to build more tension. We're going to then cover with a tea towel and some plastic wrap and put in the fridge. This is going to build flavor. You can keep it in there overnight or 24 hours. It's up to you. And then the next day, I'm just going to go in and score my bread, and bake it. I bake my bread in a Dutch oven, and I preheat the Dutch oven to 500 degrees. While this is preheating, I put my dough in the freezer. This will make scoring a lot easier. Usually takes about 45 minutes, and then once it's ready, I go ahead and score my dough. I line the Dutch oven with a little bit of rice to prevent burning and a cookie sheet underneath that, also to prevent burning, and then put my dough in, removing any excess parchment paper. Put the lid on, bake at 500 until it reaches an internal temperature of 200 to 210 degrees. If you find that this is getting too brown, go ahead and drop the temp down to 450 until it does reach that temp. And voila, you have a beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. Make sure you let it cool for 2 hours before you cut into it, but enjoy. Top this with whatever your heart desires. I like butter and honey the best when it's still kind of warm. So delicious. That was so good. Gotta make your own. Until next time, happy baking.